Welcome back. Today we have the NFL Week 3 recap. A pretty wild week, honestly. Some bizarre moments. We saw the NFL longest field goal record broke by Justin Tucker on a game-winning field goal. We saw a 109-yard kick return attempt off of a missed field goal for a touchdown by the Jaguars. Some teams are falling to 0-3. Their seasons are in serious question. Maybe a team that I happen to root for. But anyway, we'll go through all the games. Hopefully you guys enjoy this video, and let's get into it. So on Thursday Night Football, we saw the Carolina Panthers take on the Houston Texans. Carolina took that one 24-9. No Tyrod Taylor, of course. Davis Mills makes his first NFL start, a third-round pick out of Stanford. So the big headline, Christian McCaffrey has a hamstring issue. He's not being placed on the IR, so that's good news for Panthers fans, fantasy owners of Christian McCaffrey. It will be Chuba Hubbard and probably Royce Freeman to spell him as the backup running backs. We'll see how they do. Sam Darnold played pretty well again. He had 304 yards passing, 2 rushing touchdowns. The Panthers offense looked a little lost the next 2 or 3 possessions after McCaffrey went down because, as we know, the Panthers offense does run through McCaffrey. But they figured it out, and DJ Moore was awesome in this game. Robbie Anderson remains suspiciously quiet. I think he had 1 catch in this game. The rookie Terrace Marshall got pretty involved in this game as well. Carolina did lose their cornerback, first-round pick J.C. Horn, with a broken foot. That was a shame. He was off to a really good start this year. It was kind of like a non-contact injury. He just went down, and I guess it is better than an Achilles or an ACL, but you just hate to see that for a guy who was, just off to such a great start, first-round pick. So on the bright side, though, I guess that is a bright side, Carolina did trade for C.J. Henderson, who was once, I think, a former 9th overall pick just a couple years ago or last year's draft. Not sure why he got traded. I guess the whole new regime in Jacksonville didn't really see him as a valuable player. I have no idea. But they get C.J. Henderson, the corner from Florida, for a third-round pick, and Dan Arnold, the tight end. So that was kind of a weird trade, but I guess it could work out well for Carolina if C.J. Henderson lives up to that draft stock. So Davis Mills started out very slow in the first half. He looked better in the second half. His only main target was Brandon Cooks, honestly. It felt like he was throwing the Cooks every single time. But yeah, that's pretty much it for Houston. Not much good happened for Houston's offense. They couldn't run the ball. Mills didn't look that great in the first half, and then Carolina took this one easily. They're 3-0, 24-9, and Houston falls to 1-2. Next, we have a crazy game here. Baltimore Ravens beat the Detroit Lions 19-17. The headliner, of course, was a 66-yard game-winning field goal by one of the greatest kickers, if not the greatest kicker of all time, in Justin Tucker. So not only does he break the record, but he also kicks a game-winning field goal for the Ravens. Now, Baltimore, I think, should have won this game by 20-plus points. Marquise Hollywood Brown, receiver for the Ravens, had at least 2 very, very horrendous drops that would have been touchdowns. And honestly, Lions fans are going to sit there, and I don't know if a Lions fan is going to view this video or not, but a Lions fan's going to view that game and say, well, the refs screwed us. They should have had a delay of game, and that field goal never should have happened. But let me say this about Detroit's defense and the situations they were in. They allowed a 3rd and 18. It was basically a 3rd and goal. I think the first down marker was on the 1-yard line. Basically a 3rd and goal from 18 yards out, and they allowed Devin Duvernay to get behind their defense and score a touchdown. That's on you. That's just a bad defensive call, and your secondary not knowing where the hell guys are. Then they allowed a 4th and 19 on the final Ravens drive, leading up to that Justin Tucker field goal. They allowed a 4th and 19 to Sammy Watkins, I believe it was, from the Ravens' own 16-yard line. So if they were able to negate a 4th and 19 conversion by the Ravens, they would have won that game. So I get that the refs probably should have thrown a flag for a delay of game, but the Lions also have to look themselves in the mirror and say, hey, we beat ourselves. Now, on the bright side, I thought the Lions personally did a really good job of containing Lamar Jackson. He tried to always get out of the pocket, and they always made it tough on him. So I think defensively they had a great scheme against the Ravens offense. But as I said, the Ravens probably should have scored 30-plus in this game easily if Marquise Brown didn't drop the ball. So I get why a Lions fan may feel cheated about this. I guess the Lions have been competitive in most of these games so far. But yeah, they're 0-3, so they're in a rough situation. I think most people did believe the Lions were going to be a rebuilding team, and I'm sure a lot of people thought the Ravens were going to be a competitive team, despite all the injuries. The Ravens had a long list of injuries heading into this game. I forget who actually missed a game and whatnot, but they just were not at full strength, and they went into Detroit and got a win. It was ugly, but they got the win, and Justin Tucker had an awesome field goal that hit off the bottom of the upright and bounced over for. It was actually funny though. If you watched a slow motion replay, you see some of the Lions fans are like, yeah, like you missed it. And then you see some that are like, oh my gosh, because they know what happened. Now, when I was watching that game on Red Zone, I thought the ball hit like the end zone and bounced up. I had no idea it hit the crossbar, and then it went in. It was insane. So it was funny seeing some of those reactions in the background from the fans. But yeah, it was a crazy game. Baltimore 2-1. Detroit falls to 0-3. Next, we have the Atlanta Falcons. They were at the New York Giants, and the Giants lost this one 17-14 to Atlanta. I'm an idiot. I thought the Giants were going to win this game, actually. I had them down for a 27-20 victory, and I was wrong. So the Falcons, I don't think the Falcons played that well in this game, but the Giants beat themselves as usual. The Giants corner, Adoree Jackson, had an easy interception in the end zone. It went right through his hands. It was literally just an easy lob pass. Matt Ryan threw it was just a terrible decision. Matt Ryan here, near number, 15 or something here, is throwing this awful pass, and it went right through the hands of Adoree Jackson. And, of course, Kyle Pitts was interfered with in the end zone. Atlanta gets the ball at the 1. They score. Giants get the ball back, they punt, and Atlanta gets it back and they kick a game-winning field goal. So it was just the most, it was like I've seen this movie before as a Giants fan. They do it every week to us. It is what it is at this point. I'm kind of dead inside when it comes to the Giants. But as for Atlanta, they were missing their cornerback, one A.J. Terrell, but their defense did enough here. I think it's more of the incompetence of the Giants' offense, especially in the red zone. The Giants couldn't run the ball very well. I personally thought Saquon Barkley was going to have a breakout game here. It didn't happen. The Giants had a couple receiver injuries with Darius Slayton and Sterling Shepard with hamstring issues, so we'll see how long they're out for. Definitely not good news for the Giants. The Giants also lost their linebacker, Blake Martinez, torn ACL. Big loss for their defense. And as for Atlanta, a lot of their offense ran through Cordero Patterson through the receiving game. No surprise there. Calvin Ridley had a lot of targets in this game. Not a big yardage game, but a pretty nice reception game. He was moving the chains. Kyle Pitts had a big catch at the end there. So, yeah, the Falcons, it was a must-win game for both teams. Congrats to the Falcons fans out there. But, yeah, the Giants are now 0-3. And the Giants, I think, have the toughest schedule the rest of the year. So the Giants may legit be a 3 or 4 win team, if that, the rest of the year. So, as a Giants fan, I'm prepared to have a top 5 pick in next year's draft, but luckily we had the Bears pick as well, so maybe that's 2 top 5 picks. We'll see. But anyway, yeah, it was disappointing. I don't want to spend too much time on this game, honestly, but it sucked as a Giants fan, and once again, congrats to the Falcons fans. Next, we have the New Orleans Saints. They were on the road at the New England Patriots. The Saints won this one 28-13. They were 3-point underdogs, I believe, heading into this game. First off, I had no idea that Kenny Stills, the wide receiver, was back on the Saints. I just found that out when watching that game, so that was kind of interesting. But Jameis Winston only had 128 passing yards, but he did the same thing week 1, basically. I think against the Packers, he had like 150-something, and they went out there and won that game by a lot of points. Maybe that's the Saints' recipe for success, is kind of limiting Jameis Winston, not making him go downfield and turn the ball over, just kind of keep him conservative and win that way. It's not really the way you should do it in 2021, but it's working for the Saints so far. Jameis had a touchdown in this game that was like the most Jameis play ever. He had a guy hanging on him, and he was falling to the ground, and he threw a ball up for grabs, and Marquez Callaway came down with it. It was not the smartest throw, but Jameis Winston made it work, so that was kind of funny as well. The offense ran through Alvin Kamara, of course, no surprise there. He had 27 touches, which I feel like is a lot for Kamara. I think Kamara had 24 rushing attempts, which you don't see too much from him. I feel like he's more of like a high teens type guy, but 24 rushing attempts got the job done there. Mac Jones, the quarterback for the Patriots, had no turnovers heading into this game. He left this game with 3 interceptions. Now, one of them was Jonnu Smith's fault. It kind of hit off his fingertips and popped it up for a pick 6, I believe. The downside for the Saints is their missed field goals. I think Aldrick Rosas had a couple of missed field goals, former Giant Aldrick Rosas. Will Lutz, of course, is out for a while. He's injured, so they're hoping to get him back at some point. But yeah, the Saints, I guess, could have done better with the whole kicking thing on Sunday. The Saints had a blocked punt. Malcolm Jenkins had a pick 6, so they just executed on like the big plays in this game. They made more big plays than the Patriots did. I feel like they just played a cleaner game as well, so that's kind of why they won the game, honestly. It's simple as that. Kendrick Bourne, one of the free agent signings by the Patriots, had an awesome touchdown reception in this game. Mac Jones was backpedaling, threw it up for grabs. Kendrick Bourne kind of mossed a guy and tiptoed into the end zone down the sideline. It was cool. So Kendrick Bourne making contributions, but yeah, the Patriots now fall to 1-2. Saints, I believe, are 2-1, and the Patriots Patriots have that big game next week, I think at home against Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tom Brady's return. Next, we have the Cincinnati Bengals. They were on the road at the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Cincinnati took this one 24-10. It may be time to set off the alarm here, the panic alarm for the Steelers. Now, let me say, Deontay Johnson was out, Juju Smith-Schuster was out, I think TJ Watts was out, I think Alex Highsmith was out. The Steelers had a lot of injuries, but I also don't know if it's going to get much better for the Steelers going forward. There was a lot of problems that they had offensively. First of all, Najee Harris, the running back, it was great for my fantasy team, but he had 19 targets. That was the second most targets for a running back, I think, since targets were tracked. And I think Alvin Kamara has the record. I think he had 20 one game. But yeah, Pittsburgh has a lot of problems. Ben Roethlisberger either is washed or very injured. I don't know what it is. He just does not look right out there. He has a lot of problems throwing the ball deep. The Steelers' offensive line is terrible. They literally can't run block for Najee Harris. He can't get anything going on the ground, and I figured this would be a game where Najee Harris can actually have a good game on the ground, but it just can't happen because their offensive line stinks. If the guys on defense continue to be injured or just not available, that's going to be a problem as well. Like they have to be carried by their defense. I just don't know if the Steelers offense can get much better with Ben Roethlisberger as their quarterback. I think I have a friend that's a Steelers fan that wants Dwayne Haskins to play. That's how bad it's getting, honestly. So it's crazy. But for the Bengals, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd had a couple of cool touchdowns. Chase caught a ball where it pretty much almost went through his hands, but he kept it, had a touchdown on the sideline. I think Chase had 2 touchdowns, actually. I'm pretty sure he had 2. Tyler Boyd had a nice touchdown reception. He bounced off a defender, some nice yards after catch, broke a tackle, got in for a touchdown. Joe Burrow looked good. The interception he threw, I don't even think was his fault. I think it went through the hands of Tyler Boyd, actually, and it was a really good throw if you think about it. But, Joe Burrow looked a lot better. I will say that's definitely good news for the Bengals and their fans based on the performance he had in Week 2, which was not that good against the Bears. The Bengals linebacker Logan Wilson had 2 interceptions, I believe. I think that's 3 on the year for him now. He had a pick 6 last week or 2 weeks ago now against Justin Fields. He had 2 in this game, a crazy one-handed one when Ben Roethlisberger got hit when he threw, and he made a crazy one-handed interception. But yeah, the Steelers had some guys out, but I do have some legitimate concerns. And this was to make things even worse for the Steelers. The Steelers had a 4th and 10 down 14 points. So 4th and 10, you got to go 10 yards. Game's on the line. You're down 2 touchdowns. And Ben Roethlisberger threw a swing pass to Najee Harris behind the line of scrimmage. That's how broken this offense is. It looks bad. I don't know how you do that with not the game on the line, but dude, you're down 2 touchdowns and you're 10 yards away. You throw a swing pass to your running back who was just mauled by 3 linebackers once he caught it. It was stupid. So the Steelers offense is concerning. We'll see how they do. Hey, maybe Cincinnati's legit. I think Cincinnati plays on Thursday night against Jacksonville. They have a legit chance to go 3-1 here. They're 2-1 now. Pittsburgh's 1-2. They had that nice Week 1 victory, but they've now dropped 2 in a row here to Las Vegas. Now Cincinnati. We'll see if Pittsburgh can bounce back here in Week 4. Next, we have another divisional matchup. The Indianapolis Colts were on the road at the Tennessee Titans, and the Titans took this one 25-16. This game was pretty close throughout, and I think the Colts had an actual chance to win this game, but of course it just went south at the end. Now A.J. Brown, Tennessee's wide receiver, has a hamstring issue. He could be out next week, maybe a couple weeks. We'll find out the severity there. And Julio Jones barely played in the second half. Julio got off to a good start for the first quarter and a half. He was making some plays for them, but just didn't really play in the second half. It was weird, and I think that either the head coach Vrabel or someone else said they were kind of they were kind of managing his snaps. It was weird. I have no idea why Julio Jones didn't play much. They were kind of carried offensively, receiving-wise, by some guy named Nick Westbrook-Akina, who I've never heard of before. I think he had a fumble in this game, but also made some big plays for them. Chester Rogers scored a touchdown, the former Colts receiver. He started doing the T.Y. Hilton touchdown celebration. That was pretty funny. Don't know if that's a shout-out to T.Y. or kind of throwing shade. I have no idea. I didn't look into it, but I did notice that. Derrick Henry had a good game, but I also want to point out to a specific play. If you missed this one, go watch it. It's all over Twitter and probably Instagram. Derrick Henry caught a screen pass, and he knocked Darius Leonard on his ass. He threw him. It was I think that Leonard and Henry are probably somewhere in the same weight class, but he made Leonard look like he was 150 pounds. He just shoved him, and I think Leonard just flew back 2 or 3 yards. It was crazy. So Derrick Henry showing that grown man strength. Carson Wentz looked okay. I mean, on two bad ankles especially, he was fine. He had a crucial missed touchdown to Michael Pittman late in the third quarter. It would have given them the lead, and I think he just flat out missed him. He was pretty wide open in the end zone. The Titans went for two. They were up 20-13. I did like that. There are so many coaches around the NFL that are coaching scared and don't go for it. My head coach included was punting from his own punting from Atlanta's 39-yard line on a 4th and 3. But to see the Titans go for two, they were up 20-13, make it a 9-point game, make it a 2-possession game. That was a good call by the Titans, in my opinion. They just ran it up the middle with Henry, didn't stop him, and that's pretty much where the Titans won that game. So they converted, made it 2 possessions. The Titans, I think, did enough to win this game. They didn't look like too impressive, but the Colts are now 0-3. And I don't know who they play next week, honestly, but like just starting 0-3 for a team with some pretty high expectations like the Colts, that's concerning. I saw Quentin Nelson got injured. I don't know how bad that one is, but we'll find out. The Colts have to bounce back at some point. The Titans now are in a really good spot in their division. I think they're still in first place by a pretty, it's not by a good amount because we're only 3 weeks in, but I think Houston's in second place. The only real threat to them is the Colts, and they're, 0-3. So the Titans right now hold a tiebreaker with the Colts. They're 2-1. They're sitting pretty here after 3 weeks. Next, we have the Washington football team. They were at the Buffalo Bills, and the Bills won this one by a lot, 43-21. I personally thought Washington on extended rest was going to keep this one close, but that was not the case. So Josh Allen and the Bills offense are probably back. I mean, I was talking about it, how their offense has not looked the same the first 2 weeks, but they looked really good in this game. Josh Allen was making his typical plays outside the pocket, had a crazy throw on the run to Emmanuel Sanders. Washington got some pass rush, but Josh Allen was just doing everything in his power to just get away from them and make plays. That's what Josh Allen does. Allen was 32 of 43, good completion percentage, 358 yards and 4 passing touchdowns, and no turnovers. Good game for Josh Allen. Washington's tight end Logan Thomas had a key fumble in this game, resulting in a Buffalo touchdown going the other way. Not on that play, but like they scored the next possession. Tre'Davious White forced that fumble. But Washington, they kind of got close at one point. It was 21-14, I believe. Antonio Gibson had a long screen for a touchdown. I feel like it was a 75, 80-yard screen touchdown pass to Antonio Gibson. He was just weaving his way through the defense, had an awesome dive at the pylon, got in. So that was a cool play for him. Washington recovered a crazy kickoff. This was a weird play. As I said, there were so many bizarre plays here in week 3. So Dustin Hopkins, the kicker for Washington, kicks off. It's a regular kick. It falls right in front of the return man. It probably landed at probably the 5-yard line or so. But I've never seen this happen before. The ball just kicked back perfectly. It was like the perfect backspin or something. The ball just kicked back perfectly. And it was weird because you have all these guys on Buffalo that are probably blocking thinking their guy has the ball, but the ball is loose. And I think Dustin Hopkins actually recovered his own kick. It was crazy. I've never seen a kicker recover his own kick 60 yards down the field. It was an insane play. I've never seen it before, but it was either a lucky bounce or one of the greatest kicks of all time by Dustin Hopkins. I don't know. But anyway, Taylor Heineke made a few nice plays, had a rushing touchdown, made some nice throws here and there, but also had 2 very costly and horrendous interceptions that were just not good throws at all, not good decisions. So, that definitely cost them big time. And Washington's defense, I mean, it may be time to have that talk. Are they overrated? As I said, they got some pass rush on Josh Allen. They weren't invisible, but they just got torched the entire game. Washington's defense even gave up 29 to my Giants, who were horrendous. I mean, Washington's defense has to be better. They gave up 20 week 1 to the Chargers, which is a pretty good showing, but they just have not looked right recently. Something has to change there. Buffalo's offense figured it out. I feel like Washington's defense can figure it out. We'll see how they do in week 4, but definitely they are not living up to the expectations defensively so far. Next, and this was a great game, the Los Angeles Chargers, they won against the Chiefs 30-24 at Kansas City. I actually picked the Chargers to win, so I surprisingly got that one right. Justin Herbert has played well versus KC so far. He almost beat them in his first start in the NFL. I think it was week 2 last year when Tyrod had his lung punctured. Took them to overtime. He beat them in Arrowhead last year when I know the Chiefs starters were out, but still he won in Arrowhead last year. And then he wins this big game here in week 3. Shout out to Brandon Staley, the new head coach of the Chargers. That guy has balls of steel, and I will go over that scenario real quick. So they had a 4th and 9. It was the fourth quarter tie game, and they were on Kansas City's 35. So what happened was, so I think that the Chargers had a 4th and 4, and they were going to go for it. Then they had a false start in typical Chargers fashion, trying to beat themselves, and he still went for it on 4th and 9. Now, they go for it. They throw it to the outside. I forget who the receiver was. It might have been like Jalen Guyton or something. I have no idea. But anyway, he was interfered with. So he dropped the ball, but they called the pass interference. Chargers get a first down. They throw a lob pass to Mike Williams. He gets out at like the 2-yard line. Now, here was my problem with the Chargers. I will say this. The Chiefs had one timeout left, and there was like 35, 40 seconds left on the clock. The Chargers, I know they have their kicking problems, but it was like literally a 20-yard field goal at that point. They should have taken 2 knees. Like they scored on the next play and gave Patrick Mahomes, I think, 32 seconds. Yeah, 32 seconds to go back and score. You can't leave Patrick Mahomes that much time. I know they got away with it, but you cannot do that. I think Tyreek Hill on the next possession was very close to catching a long pass, which would have got them down at like the 20 or so. But yeah, they have to, if you're the Chargers in that situation in the future, especially against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs offense, just take 2 knees or 3 knees, kick a field goal, get out of there, win that game by 3. Like, there's no reason to score there and give Mahomes another 32 seconds. They probably want you to score, the Chiefs, at that point. So yeah, take the knee, play the clock in your advantage. But outside of that, Brandon Staley did an awesome job in this game once again. Mike Williams, the wide receiver, former first-round pick, by the way, I think. He was awesome in this game. 122 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. He's been awesome so far this year, even outplaying Keenan Allen, which is very surprising. I mean, Keenan Allen's been good so far, but Mike Williams is playing like the wide receiver 1 of that team. Mahomes had 2 interceptions. One of them was very careless, just kind of threw it up for grabs. I think Asante Samuel Jr. had his second interception in a row, so that was cool to see. So 2 interceptions on the year for him now. Clyde Edwards-Helaire fumbled again. So 2 weeks ago, he had no fumbles in his career. Now has 2 in back-to-back weeks. And even Tyreek Hill fumbled at one point in this game as well. So the Chiefs, while their defense sucks, we know that, they are beating themselves on offense with the turnovers. They had 4 turnovers as far as I remember. So yeah, that's just, you can't win with that. They were close, but now the Chiefs are in last place. I mean, they won't end there probably, but still, to see the Chiefs in last place at 1-2 after 3 weeks is surprising. They got to get it together. Maybe this is the punch in the gut the Chiefs needed. But as for the Chargers, those fans got to be hyped up. They beat, their big division rival, and so far they're looking good here through 3 weeks. Next, we have the Arizona Cardinals. They were on the road at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Arizona took this one 31-19, and I think this game should have been closer. I think Jacksonville could have flat out won this game. They just made so many stupid mistakes. Jacksonville was up 19-10. It should have been 20-10 because they missed an extra point, but 19-10 late in the third quarter, I think they legitimately had a chance to win this game. Then all of a sudden, the Cardinals put together a long drive. James Conner scores a touchdown. He had 2 on the day. Then, like on the next possession, the Jaguars have a flea flicker. Trevor Lawrence throws a stupid, and I mean very stupid interception, backpedaling, throws it to Byron Murphy for a pick 6, who I think had 2 interceptions in this game as well. So yeah, they just beat themselves, and from there on out, the Cardinals kind of took care of business there. But yeah, they went on the score, what is that, 21 unanswered points, the Cardinals. So like the Jaguars like really had a chance to, I don't know, win this game, but just like take it down to the wire. They ended up losing by 12 points here. That was just, I felt like the game was a lot closer than that. So Trevor Lawrence was better in this game. He definitely looked, okay at some points, but just had another couple interceptions. One of them was the tight end's fault. Clearly, it hit off his hands, and I think Murphy had another interception there. But he now becomes, I think it was the 4th quarterback in history to throw 2 interceptions in each of his first 3 games. And 2 guys on that list, though, are Peyton Manning and Troy Aikman. I mean, I know Peyton's a better player, but Aikman has the accolades. Both really good quarterbacks, I will say. So I guess it's not the end of the world for Trevor Lawrence, but not the best start to his NFL career so far. Yeah, I talked about the Lawrence interception. So there was an awesome, I talked about this on the top of the video, but there was an awesome 109-yard touchdown return by Jamal Agnew, who I think now has 2 return touchdowns on the year. He had a kickoff return for a touchdown in week 1 or 2. So Matt Prater, with 2 seconds left before halftime, trotted out for a 68-yard field goal attempt, would have broke the record. He came up short. Jamal Agnew returned it for 109 yards. It was kind of like that Auburn play with that Chris Davis guy like a decade ago. It was a similar play to that, but except the game was on the line. It was halftime. But definitely a big play for Jacksonville. I think after that kick return, too, they went up 14-7. So, they had momentum. They had the lead. Jacksonville just shot themselves in the foot. So, that was an awesome play. Gus Johnson with another awesome call on that one. He was going crazy. Aqib Talib as well. I just love that commentating group. I don't know. I do hope they do a Giants game at some point this year. Rondale Moore had a muffed punt, and it wasn't even his fault. It was insane. It was as I said, so many bizarre things happened in week 3. This is another one. I've watched football. I've sat on my couch and watched every minute of Red Zone for almost a decade, and I've never seen this happen before. So I think there was a flag on the kick return or punt return. And as Rondale Moore, who was the punt returner for the Cardinals, is waiting under the ball, the ref throws a flag. The flag hits the ball and knocks it off its trajectory, and Rondale Moore muffs the punt. I've never seen that before. A ref caused a muffed punt. It's just insane that happened. So, yeah, anyway, for the game, Jacksonville now falls to 0-3. Arizona's 3-0. Good for them. Definitely a breakout team so far this year. They're looking good. So, hopefully Arizona keeps it up. For Jacksonville, hopefully they start competing at some points. But they looked better in this game. I will say. I don't want to say they're not competitive, but they can't keep beating themselves, and Trevor Lawrence has to eventually get rid of these rookie mistakes because they've been very bad and very plentiful so far in his young NFL career. Next, we have the Chicago Bears. They were at the Cleveland Browns. The Browns won this one 26-6, and it could have been worse, honestly. Chicago fans have to feel dejected right now. It was just awful. They had no offense, especially in the first half. They literally had one of the worst offensive halves I've ever seen. So, yeah, that was rough. And the Bears don't have their first-round pick. It belongs to my Giants, thank God. So, yeah, losing for them does them no good right now. So, yeah, the combination of Matt Nagy and Justin Fields was horrendous in this game. It was Justin Fields' first start. He played a tough defense. He has no offensive line. I know that the Justin Fields people are very outspoken and will defend Justin Fields, for everything. But I have to admit, he did not play that well in this game. So, even Matt Nagy, I think Bears fans are done. Their head coach, they want to run him out of town here. It's not looking good for him, obviously. You don't want to give your head coach 1 year with your rookie quarterback. I saw the Giants do that with Daniel Jones and Pat Shurmur, but if Matt Nagy just continues to look lost like this offensively and not have a game plan, I just don't know how you can put up with that. He literally was not letting Justin Fields throw the ball in the first half. It was weird. So anyway, Justin Fields was sacked 9 times. I'm sure some of that might have been his fault, but I'm sure most of it was probably the offensive line of the Bears, and they're terrible. I saw Jason Peters, who's probably 40 years old now, just let Myles Garrett not walk by him, but just go by him and not even get touched. It was just crazy. So yeah, Jason Peters is their left tackle. Tevin Jenkins, who was their second-round pick, had back surgery. He's out. They let Bobby Massey go. They let Charles Leno go. They have a new offensive line, and it is awful. So I feel bad for Justin Fields, honestly, not in the best situation to succeed right now, but he's not the only rookie quarterback in that situation. I'll put it that way. I mean, Zach Wilson, I think even Trevor Lawrence are facing that same thing here. Myles Garrett, former first overall pick in 2017, had 4.5 sacks in this game himself. Didn't get to 5 like Chandler Jones in week 1, but 4.5 is a pretty damn good day, so I will say that. Odell Beckham made his return. Jarvis Landry was out, but Odell had a pretty nice game. He had 5 catches, 75 yards or so. Might have had a 10-yard rush in there too. He made an impact. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, the second-round pick for the Browns. He was a second-round pick and shockingly fell to the second round. Had a great game in this one. He was all over the field. Even Ronnie Harrison played well, the safety for the Browns. So, it's definitely good to see a guy who was just a surprise second-round pick. I think J.O.K. Owusu-Koramoah was supposed to be a mid to late first-round pick, so the Browns fans have to be very happy with his production so far. And the Browns, as I said, this game probably should have been more out of hand, but the Browns had a couple of failed fourth down conversions. They missed on a 4th and 1 and missed on a 4th and 3 in the first quarter. So this game could have been even worse, but 26-6 is already a pretty bad score as it is. Chicago's offense has to get better. There's no doubt about it. They're putting too much pressure on their defense by not staying on the field and putting up any points. So it's just a crappy situation all around. And Matt Nagy is not looking good right now. His job is definitely on the line this year, I feel like, and it has to get better. As for Cleveland, I believe they're 2-1 now. Should be 3-0, but they're 2-1 now. Chicago is, I think they're 1-2 now. I'll check their record real quick. I do have it on the screen, of course, but I don't have that up right now. Chicago is 1-2. So not the worst situation, but it definitely could spiral out of control if Chicago can't block up front. Next, we have the New York Jets. They scored 0 points on the road at Denver. Denver won this one 26-0. Unfortunately, I think the Jets are probably the worst team in football right now. I don't know how you can find a team worse. Of course, Houston's going to be in that conversation. Jacksonville, the Giants. I think the Jets, though, have to be the worst, if I'm being honest. The offensive line for the Jets was a unit that I had some high hopes for. Of course, they have Mekhi Becton, who's now injured. They have Elijah Vera Tucker, who I think had a pretty bad penalty in this game. He might have been like an illegal man downfield or something. I forget. They brought in Morgan Moses. They have a center in Connor McGovern, who's not that bad. And the offensive line's been awful, though. I have to admit, their offensive line stinks. Corey Davis is dropping passes. He has not been worth the money so far. He put up a good week 1, but just outside of that, he's dropping way too many passes. Zach Wilson looked really comfortable in the preseason. I remember doing that preseason film review of Zach Wilson, and he looked so comfortable in that offense, and now he's rattled, he's flustered. There's a lot of problems right now. I still think Zach Wilson's a very talented kid, but you can tell he's losing a lot of confidence right now. And the Jets, of course, I don't know why they did this. The Jets don't have a veteran quarterback on their roster. It makes no sense. I think coming into this season, the player on the Jets roster with the most passing attempts in their career was Jamison Crowder, and Jamison Crowder is a wide receiver. So the Jets did absolutely nothing to bring in a veteran quarterback with any NFL experience. It was very, I don't know, it was just malpractice on their part, in my opinion. So I don't know, but I guess Zach Wilson will be continuing to be thrown out there to the Wolves, and we'll see how he does and if he can float. For the Broncos, Tim Patrick had 98 yards. KJ Hamler did tear his ACL, so that was rough to see, of course, but hopefully he's back for next year by week 1. Broncos defense obviously played very well. It's a good unit. They've had an easy schedule. I will say that the Broncos may have played the worst 3 teams in the NFL. I think they played the Giants, they played the Jets, and they played Jacksonville. So are they legit? Are they not legit? Is it a product of their schedule? I think the Broncos are a pretty good team. I think the Broncos are probably a 9 or maybe 10 win team. I think 9's a good number for them. They're going to get tougher opponents going forward, but I think 9 wins is like definitely possible for Denver. They could be a wild card team for sure. I kind of do buy into Denver. I don't think they're all just a product of who they're playing. They are doing very well against these teams. They blew out the Giants. I forget the Jacksonville score, honestly. And then they just blew out the Jets here. So yeah, they're beating these teams by a lot of points. Javonte Williams, this is more of a fantasy football thing, honestly, but Javonte Williams had a goal line fumble, the rookie running back, second round pick for Denver. So that was not good, of course. The coaching staff may lose some trust there for him, but they still won this game by a lot, so maybe they'll give him a pass. I don't know. But anyway, the Jets look rough. Denver's looking good. They're rolling. We'll see if they can keep it up against better competition going forward. Next, we have the Miami Dolphins. They were at the Las Vegas Raiders, and the Raiders won this one in overtime as time expired 31-28. Now, my question is, does John Gruden understand the overtime rules? I legitimately I have to ask that question. I don't know if he does. He'll say he does because it's John Gruden, but just based on what we saw, here's what happened in overtime. So the Raiders won the coin toss. They received. They kick a field goal. Miami goes back down. They kick a 50-yard field goal. Very cowardly, by the way, by Brian Flores. It was like a 4th and 2 from I don't know what, it might have been like the 37 or so, or 33, and they kicked a 50-yard field goal rather than going for it. So that was kind of cowardly in my opinion. But anyway, so then Las Vegas gets the ball back, and at this point, next point wins. It's over. Next point that goes through the uprights, next safety, next touchdown, game's over. Any points on the board for the Raiders, they win. And they just keep running the ball. They got inside the 20, and they kept running over and over and over again with Peyton Barber, who actually looked really good in this game. I thought he was washed, but he looked pretty good. But anyway, they keep running the ball, and it's like John Gruden purposely waited for the clock to get to 2 or 3 seconds and then kicked the game-winning field goal as time expired. Meanwhile, John Gruden could have kicked the field goal 2 minutes prior. It made no sense. I don't know, but you know what I mean? Because there's a chance that like maybe Peyton Barber fumbles, and all of a sudden you end in a tie. Like, it's not really worth to play around. You might as well just kick the field goal and get out of there with a win. So I don't know if John Gruden gets the rules or not, or if that was just by design, but it just seemed kind of dumb to me. The Dolphins had a pick six early. Malcolm Brown had a touchdown. They made it 14-0 Dolphins. And it seemed like when Malcolm Brown ran that touchdown, and I was saying to myself, this would be the game the Raiders lose. So they have two awesome wins to start the year, and of course they're getting blown out here already by the Dolphins at home. But anyway, they come back. Miami got safetied, and this is kind of where the game turned around, the momentum here. So Miami was backed up in their own territory. They threw an awful just swing pass or screen pass even to Jalen Waddle. It was a screen pass where nobody was blocking. So Jalen Waddle catches the ball about 3 yards deep in the end zone. Nobody's blocking, and I think either Trayvon Mullen or Casey Hayward tackles him in the end zone for a safety, and that's where the whole momentum changed. It was just a very stupid play call, honestly. Jacoby Brissett in filling in for Tua Tagovailoa. He played well in this game, led an 82-yard drive and a 2-minute drill down 8. They got the 2-point conversion as well, got it to overtime. Brissett made plays in this game. He wasn't the reason they lost. I mean, of course, you wish you have your starting quarterback, but I can't really sit here and blame Brissett for the way he played. Anyway, now Miami is 1-2, I believe, and now we have Las Vegas at 3-0. I think Las Vegas is in first place, either them or Denver. I mean, they're tied pretty much. I mean, Las Vegas is in first place based on the standings right now, so we'll see if Vegas can keep it up. As for Miami, they were a team with some pretty high expectations. Of course, they lost Tua for a little bit here, but we'll see if they can bounce back here in week 4. But as for the Raiders, I don't know if I'm sold yet, but they're off to a great start. But I do want to see them play some better competition. I mean, the Steelers so far don't look like a great team. Baltimore, of course, was depleted by injuries early on, but they still kind of are. And Miami is, they're playing with a backward quarterback. So I have yet to see that win for the Raiders. That has convinced me they're legit. We'll see how it goes. I keep waiting for the Raiders to kind of just. They always find a way to disappoint. Every time the Raiders have a good start to a year, they disappoint. I feel like it's going to happen at some point. So for now, I am just remaining cautiously optimistic about that team. Next, we have the Seattle Seahawks. They were at the Minnesota Vikings, and the Vikings took this one in a must-win situation because Minnesota was 0-2. They win this one 30-17. Dalvin Cook sat out, and they were fine. Alexander Mattison came in and played very well. He had a lot of scrimmage yards, a lot of receiving yards, had a lot of rushing yards, over 100, I believe. It was like 114 or something, 113. Played well. Justin Jefferson had his way, of course, and Kirk Cousins continues to play well this year. Like, Kirk Cousins, despite being 1-2, it's not really his fault. I mean, the Vikings defense has disappointed so far up until this week. They played much better in this game, so I give them a lot of credit. Seattle got off to a pretty good start. I think DK Metcalf had a touchdown early. They just kind of went down the field easily. And then Seattle's offense just stalled. I do believe Tyler Lockett got injured at one point. He came back in this game, but we'll see how serious that is. I like Tyler Lockett. I hope he's okay. But it just seemed like Seattle could never get things going offensively. I don't know what it was. Even Chris Carson was running the ball okay, so it was kind of weird how they were only held to 17 points, but it is what it is. Even Russell Wilson, I don't think, had a turnover, so it's very odd to see them only held to 17 points here. But as for Minnesota's offense, they continue to push forward. They're doing their thing, and I feel like as long as the Vikings defense is good, they'll be fine. Like, they should be a good team as long as the Vikings defense can hold their opponents to a respectable amount of points here. As for Seattle, they're now 1-2 this year in that tough NFC West division. They're lucky that the Packers won that game on Sunday night because they would be the only team with a loss in that division. Right now, it's the Cardinals at 3-0, the Rams at 3-0, San Francisco at 2-1, and then you have the Seahawks at 1-2. So we'll see if they can bounce back here. It is a very tough division. You can't afford to lose many more games here in this NFC West, so we'll see how Seattle does. But a great win here for Minnesota. They had to get one, and I'm glad they got it. Next, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They were on the road at the Los Angeles Rams, one of the best games of the week, on paper at least. And the Rams took this one 34-24. And this was a game where I did pick the Rams to win, but I expected it to be a closer game. And the final score, I know it's a 10-point game, but I think they scored like a late touchdown with Gio Bernard. He got messed up on that final play. I think he has like a MCL sprain or something. It was a bad hit on him, but he got in the end zone. So I think it was like 34-17 at one point. But anyway, I thought Tom Brady played well for the most part. He was fine. He wasn't really the problem here. But at the same time, the Buccaneers' defense, especially that secondary, was an issue. And they didn't have Jason Pierre-Paul, so the pass rush was not at full strength. I will admit that. But Matthew Stafford once again continues to look awesome in this offense. Cooper Kupp had another insane performance, 2 touchdowns, I believe. I'll look up real quick. 9 catches, 96 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Even Deshaun Jackson, I haven't seen him in years. He came back, 3 catches, 120 yards, and a touchdown. Had a long touchdown in this game. So if Deshaun Jackson can just be that deep downfield threat, and the way Matthew Stafford's throwing the ball deep right now, he's like their wide receiver 4. So this Rams offense is very scary. Tyler Higbee had a nice game, the tight end for the Rams, and the Rams defense did a really good job in my opinion. So the Buccaneers barely ran the ball. They kept the Buccaneers offense out of the end zone enough. They did a good job in my opinion here. So Sean McVay was very hyped up the entire game. He was going crazy. He was running towards the tunnel to greet the players after they scored a touchdown. Sean McVay was just very excited. And the entire Rams team has to feel great about themselves right now. If you can take down Tampa, who is, probably one of the best teams in football. They may have the best roster in football right now. They weren't at full strength. Once again, no JPP, no Antonio Brown, maybe some other people I'm forgetting. But at the same time, to get this win here, it's definitely big for them. This could be a preview of a future NFC championship game here, maybe sometime in January. So we'll find out. But definitely a big win for the morale of the Los Angeles Rams. I do believe the Matthew Stafford trade was worth it. I said that at the time as well. I think right now the Rams are rolling. Their defense is looking really good. Maybe not as good as last year, but it's still looking really good against a Buccaneers offense that's very potent. And as for Tampa, look, they can afford to lose a game. It is what it is, but I think that's kind of like a wake-up call of hey, the Rams are legit. They might be the best team in the NFC. We'll see how it is determined in the playoffs. But right now, if Matthew Stafford stays healthy, I like the Rams' chances a lot. But yeah, the Rams handled their business. Sean McVay called a great game. Stafford looked great, and they got the win. So definitely a huge win here for the Rams, and we'll see how it goes for them the rest of the year. Next, we have the Green Bay Packers. They were on the road at the San Francisco 49ers. It was a great Sunday night game here. Mason Crosby kicks a game-winning, I think it was 50-yard game-winning field goal. Aaron Rodgers was given too much time to come down the field and get them in field goal range, and we'll kind of start there. So the score of this game, I believe, was 27-21 Packers, and the 49ers had a drive to go down and take the lead, and the problem was, though, they scored a bit too soon. I think there was about 30 seconds left. Garoppolo threw a check down pass to Kyle Juszczyk, the fullback. He dove in the end zone and gave Aaron Rodgers about 30 seconds to go down and get in field goal range. So you get two sides of the spectrum here. There's people that when you're down, when you need a touchdown, they say just get a touchdown, rely on your defense. Then there's also people that are like, don't give Aaron Rodgers any time. But at the same time, you also want to get in the end zone. So it's a very thin line. And it's tough to know. Different coaches have different philosophies about that, because I understand wanting to get in the end zone and get it over with, but I also understand not wanting to give Aaron Rodgers any time and scoring a touchdown with the least amount of time possible. I get both sides of it. But anyway, San Francisco scores, and I think in just 2 plays, Aaron Rodgers got down the field in field goal range. And I give the Niners defense a lot of crap here. It was Davante Adams both times. Davante Adams in this game had 12 catches, 132 yards, and a touchdown. Nobody else was killing them. Allen Lazard had a nice long catch. Marquez Valdes-Scantling, same thing. But the only guy that was consistently killing them through the air was Davante Adams, and they left him open on the final drive. Like, you have to double team him or something on that final drive. I don't know how they left Davante Adams open. Even Aaron Rodgers after the postgame said, I was just looking for Davante. Like, it's very obvious. Like, everyone in the stadium knew where the ball was going, and the Niners just did not cover Davante Adams tight enough, and that's, why this happened, really. So Mason Crosby comes down, kicks the game-winning field goal as time expires. The Packers get a big win. They go 2-1. The Niners fall to 2-1. Now, as for San Francisco, Garoppolo started off pretty slow in this game. I think the Packers had a 10-0 lead. Garoppolo threw a deep interception to Jair Alexander. We saw Trey Lance come in a couple times. I think Lance had a touchdown in this game on the ground. And I guess we're getting closer and closer here to Trey Lance. It may not happen yet because they are 2-1. But at some point here, I do think Trey Lance will be named the starter. I guess for the Niners, it was good to see Brandon Ayuk come back to life. Ayuk was a guy who was a former first-round pick for them last year, and he did basically nothing the first couple weeks here, but he had 4 catches, 37 yards, and a touchdown. I think he dropped a touchdown too. But anyway, we saw Trey Sermon get his first start in the NFL, the running back. He was a pretty high pick for them this year, 10 carries, 31 yards, and a touchdown. nothing great there. And George Kittle had 92 yards. So, yeah, I mean, the Niners looked pretty good, but just Garoppolo throwing the interception and getting off to that slow start really killed them. But, yeah, they probably should have waited longer, and giving Aaron Rodgers like 25, 30 seconds was still too much time, and it resulted in a loss. And lastly, Monday Night Football, the Philadelphia Eagles were on the road at the Dallas Cowboys NFC East matchup here. The Cowboys took care of them easily here, 41-21. The most surprising stat here, I feel like, was that the running backs for the Eagles combined for 3 carries. Miles Sanders had 2 carries for 27 yards, and Kenneth Gainwell behind him had 1 carry for 2 yards. So I don't know if they just came into this game with the mindset of we're not running the ball or what, but Jalen Hurts, though, had 9 carries, 35 yards. Some of those were designed runs and keepers, but for the most part, there were some scrambles in there as well. The leading receiver for the Eagles had 66 yards, Dallas Goedert. He had a big catch on the first play of the game, I think, for the Eagles, and I think a catch later in the game. Zach Ertz had a touchdown in this one. But as for the Cowboys offense, they looked really good. Dallas had a play in this game where they were stopped on the 1-yard line. Dak Prescott had a quarterback sneak. It looked like he was in, but they called him short, and none of the camera angles can overturn it. I do think Mike McCarthy challenged the play, but with so many bodies surrounding the ball, it was tough to get a camera angle definitively saying that Dak Prescott crossed the plane. So they called him short, and Philly got the ball back at the 1. So Ezekiel Elliott bounced back in this one. He had 17 carries, 95 yards, a couple of touchdowns on the ground. Tony Pollard still looked good in this one. Dalton Schultz was the leading receiver, 6 catches, 80 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Amari Cooper was kind of more of a decoy once again, but CeeDee Lamb had a big catch early on in this one. And Dak Prescott looked really good overall. I mean, as a passer in the pocket, he was good. Dak may not have that same mobility that he used to, but as a pocket passer, he looked really good in this one. 3 touchdown passes. He looked solid. So I think the Cowboys, honestly, and I'm saying this as a Giants fan, and it hurts, but as long as Dak Prescott's healthy, I don't see how the Cowboys don't win this division. I don't really think the Eagles are that great. They're okay. They're not great. Washington's defense has to get better. They don't have a quarterback right now. I think Dallas is in a great position to take the NFC East, and I would say pretty comfortably right now, but it does come down to the health of Dak Prescott. We'll see how it goes. They lost DeMarcus Lawrence with a knee injury, I think it was. He had some type of injury where he's out for a while here. So they lost a big piece of their team, but still, I think Dallas's offense is good enough where they'll be fine here. So, Dak Prescott's health permitting, but I think right now Dallas is in a good spot. The Eagles, I mean, yeah, Jalen Hurts looked okay at some points, but he also had a very bad underthrow that resulted in an interception on the first drive. Had another interception at one point as well. Trayvon Diggs, a cornerback for the Cowboys, a guy that I liked before he was even drafted. I kind of hoped the Giants were taking him in the second round, but he was very good in this game. He was all over the place. He was breaking up some passes. I think he had an interception in this game as well, so he was awesome. I think he had a pick 6, actually, now that I'm remembering. So, it was a really good performance by Dallas's defense here. I know the Eagles' offense is not the best in the world, but Dallas's defense had such little expectations coming into this year, and once again, they are missing DeMarcus Lawrence, who might be their best defensive player. Micah Parsons, their rookie, looked good in this game. He was a bit hobbled at the end, so we'll see about his health status, but he should be okay. But yeah, Dallas's defense, as long as they're competent and average, they should be a good team. And once again, if Dak's healthy, I think the Cowboys will win the NFC East, unfortunately. So anyway, that'll do it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this Week 3 recap. Leave in the comments what you saw in Week 3, some of the big surprises, what you expect going forward. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll talk to you guys next time.